The double mystery of Noida back in 2008 shook the entire nation for the way in which the incident unfolded. Certain facts were buried, evidences were destroyed, and there were many twists and turns in the tale. Today we are in conversation with Meghna Gulzar and Irrfan Khan to know what exactly prompted them to make a movie on the same subject. Let's welcome the duo. Well, his acting prowess is absolutely incredible. The kind of range he shows in terms of his characters on the celluloid is unmatched. He's arguably the best Bollywood import Hollywood could ever have. But definitely, he is the man of the moment. Let's welcome Irrfan Khan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing, it's the truth.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, this particular story, Talvar, there's so many facts were obfuscated. 2 investigations were there. In fact, 2 virgins, 3 investigations. What made you portray this particular character?
I think whatever we knew about the case was, which created our perception, and when the script came, it gave us completely different perceptions as well, and those were fascinating. And because of those perceptions, it made the story so intriguing, and now it doesn't remain the story of just one family. It also becomes a story of, it's a bigger picture of how our system operates, how things are done. So that becomes much more important for me. Definitely it's a strange, it's a grave tragedy, and whether they are victim or they are, suspect, whatever, but it's a great tragedy. But what it reflects about the society, about the system, is much more intriguing and fascinating and frightening.
When you portray this character, which looks intense, the story looks intense, you kind of withdraw yourself from the actual case, or you make your own research for the project?
Well, we do our own research. There is a lot of material available, and people who are involved in the case. So I'm playing a particular person, who did the investigation. So I went, I spoke to him. He came to Bombay, and we kept meeting. And whenever I had confusions, because it's such a complicated case, so there were so many places where we didn't have answers. So we had to consult, those people or our director, because this is a case where we couldn't imagine and do, because we are talking about a real incident. So we were very cautious that we shouldn't say something which was not true. So that was very challenging.
Now that the film is is all set to release, I mean, what have you learned from? What have you taken away from the film?
It tells you very shocking things about the system, and I think let people decide what they take from this. And audience is intelligent enough, we shouldn't underestimate them. And it's a different audience, it's a new audience, and they want to see, and they know, the kind of, details that they pick up is surprising, because I've seen in Piku, I've seen in other films, and the things that they talk about. So there is a large chunk of audience which is intelligent audience, which needs to be engaged in an intelligent way, and this film does that.
You're shuttling a lot between India and US these days.
Yes, I am.
And still you're very much rooted, and yet portraying so much variety in terms of your performance. How do you keep it fresh all the time?
This is, if you go from one project to another, and the project gives you freshness, if you are not repeating yourself, if you are not doing the similar kind of film, if you are not with the similar kind of people. So, it keeps changing and gives you, a kind of break, and it works as an antidote to...
This is glossy. There was this magazine that caught my attention. The title said "The Real King Khan." So, when such epithets are bestowed upon you, how do you respond?
See, you need acknowledgement, and you need acknowledgement in the right way. Like, it's not just a glamorous person, who's bigger than us. I'm not interested in that kind of image. But if I have a connection, if I say something, if I express some story, and if it goes deeper in audience's psyche, and from that something comes up, it makes you feel happy.
So what has Irrfan Khan set out to achieve with Talvar?
One more story, the awareness about the system, something which people wonder about and think about.
These are exciting times, at the same time kind of difficult times we exist in. On the one hand, our films are going abroad, overseas, they get appreciated, but as a society we are becoming very fragile. We are always there and shouting slogans. We want to get a book ban, we want a ban on meat, on films. So how do you see this scenario vis-a-vis the subject of your film?
It's a transition. We are the most frightening thing is that we are turning into more of a consumeristic and less tolerant society, which is a little frightening. And but we hope for the best.
After so much success, critically and box office, how does Irrfan keep himself sane?
My stories keep me sane. If I don't get stories to do, then I'll go insane.
Any message that you want to give our audience with this film coming up?
I think they're intelligent enough. They will take the message, whatever message the film is, and I don't decide message for the audience. They see the film and they draw what they want to draw.
Irrfan Khan, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
इस मूर्ति के हाथ में एक तलवार भी है। इंसाफ 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 होगा। मगर पिछले 60 सालों में उस पे जंग लग गया है।
What made you choose this project? So much of it is out there in public domain, and yet so much of it is unknown.
Exactly that, because if you look at this case, there is so much information, and yet clarity is missing. There is sensationalism, there is hype, there is confusion, there is multiple versions of everything, contradictions. But clarity and closure is something that has kind of eluded this case for the longest time. I'm not saying that the film attempts closure, but clarity is an attempt for sure.
Very interestingly, you said in a press conference that one thing you could vouch for as far as this project is concerned is its integrity.
That's right.
But did you have to take cinematic liberties as far as this project was concerned?
In the screenplay,
yeah.
Yes, because if anybody remembers the case, there have been so many investigations, and right when the case first broke, when the police was still handling it, the teams changed 3 times over the course of the first 10 days. Now, if you try to authentically replicate that in your script, you will have so many characters that you will be putting forth towards the audience that identification may become difficult or retention may become difficult. So what we did was, Vishalji, what he did while writing the script was that amalgamated several characters into one for the sake of brevity and clarity. Apart from that, during the screenplay, just so that there is some kind of a cinematic graph along the timeline, maybe the sequence of events have been shuffled, but as far as the data and the facts on the case go, they are untouched.
After the research was done, did you come with your own version, or did you ascertain to the version that was handed out already?
Well, like I said, I mean, if I vouch for the integrity of the film, then there is nothing in this film that is eluded. It's not my version. It is not Vishalji's version. It is all the versions that were presented by the 3 investigations that happened. 3 investigations came forth with 2 versions. The first police investigation and the second CBI team have a version where the parents are guilty. And the first CBI team, when it came in, put forth a version that the parents are not guilty. It's actually the domestic help or the compounder or certain outsiders. These are the versions that we're putting forth, each one with its own merits and loopholes. That is why I say that this film is objectively neutral.
Right.
Does it confuse you? No. Does it lead you to a place of clarity where you can make an informed opinion? That's what it does.
Okay, but will it have definite ending is the question.
It's kind of pointless to make a film that doesn't end, because what are you subjecting your audience to for the previous 2 hours if you cannot give them a finite closure? Yes, so it does have an ending, but if you're asking me whether I arrive at a conclusion, no.
Okay, So in that case, what was the most challenging part of this film was?
The most challenging thing about this film was to not let your emotions, not let your own opinions or your biases creep in to your work. Whether you were explaining it to an actor, whether you were looking at costumes, whether you were looking at how to shoot a particular scene, editing, what should stay, what should not. You know, as a director, you kind of sit through all these processes, and each one has its, space where your own biases can creep in, and it will show in the film. Since the script was extremely objective and neutral, I had the double responsibility. Apart from the fact that it was based on a real incident, people are still alive, sensibilities should not be offended. I also had the responsibility of remaining true to the script while dramatizing it. That was difficult. Doing the murder sequences were difficult because it's not easy to picturize parents killing their child.
They say certain residues of certain performances linger as far as actors are concerned. I'm sure that must be true for directors as well. So has this film changed you personally as well as professionally?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've said this before several times, and I will keep saying it, that for me, I feel like I'm starting over with this film. I feel reborn as a filmmaker. Not because, it's got the response that it has. I said this when I was on the set as well, when we were making the film. Because for me, it's a completely new genre. The technology has changed a lot since I last made a film. So I was learning constantly about new things, technology, the technicality of shooting film on digital, sync, sound, etc., etc. Actors I've never worked with before, and hugely acclaimed in their own right. Was intimidating to begin with, especially because the entire unit knew each other. They had all worked together, and they were all coming to me from working with Vishalji. So, not a very easy space to walk into. But when they give you that faith, when they tell you that they trust in you, not verbally, but in many different ways, it is so encouraging and motivating that it makes you do your job better.
True. But when you have names like Irrfan Khan, Konkana on board, what exactly goes on in your mind? Do you get the opportunity to put your foot down as a director and say, hang on, this is the script, I want to go it this way, or you were accepting and welcoming toward their suggestions as well?
No, I'll tell you, the need for putting my foot down, so to say, never arose. They would often come to me for clarity because, while performing, we don't shoot linearly. The case itself is very confusing. So whenever they needed clarity, they would ask me. And like I said, believe in what I say, trust my word for it. Which is why it was a double responsibility. I needed to know my work, my material backwards. But more than that, I feel when you give an actor a space to improvise or interpret a character or give even small inclusions or textures to the part that they're playing, that performance is so instinctive that it shows on screen. And this film is full of those performances. All characters, actually, not just Irrfan sir and Konkana and Neeraj sir, but all characters. I mean, it's only when you know that, okay, they're hitting a wrong note that you need to kind of slightly just rein them in and say, okay, no, just slightly shift more to the left or right. But otherwise, see, filmmaking is not an isolated or an individualistic process. It is an amalgamation of the efforts of over 100 people. And all the director needs to do is just, like the bhediya, the shepherd, just keep all the sheep within the fence.
Together.
That's all, that's it.
What has Meghna Gulzar, my last question, what has Meghna Gulzar set out to achieve with this film? Or is this just an intense story that needed to be told?
It's not just an intense story that needed to be told, because God knows that I would hope that it's not just a film, achhi bani, chali, or that's the end of it. Ya nahi chali and that's the end of it. No. There are questions that still remain unanswered. I'm not saying that the film answers those questions, but can we just stir up a debate which at least begins the process of getting those answers.
True.
Begins the process of getting that closure. Because, I'm not saying that there were a lot of lapses. Some can be rectified, some can't. Are we as a society evolved enough to say, yes, we made a mistake, let's try and correct this? Or, no, this is fine, you presented your point of view, but we as a society will stick to what we believe. But at least let's reach that place of conversation. That's what I want from this.
Meghna Gulzar, all the best for your film.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.